Hello, all you beautiful bagels. Welcome back to Esports Rewind. We hope you guys all enjoy. Hunter, I found some great comments from the last podcast, and I really am glad you guys are still leaving comments. We hope you all enjoy. If you guys don't know, for the intro segment, we read these suckers out, to which Oway Ward says, outro game is getting strong between you two, which I do like our outro game. What was the comment? You didn't find one, did you?
Absolutely not. I mean, yes, I did, and it says, Hunter looks especially beautiful today. I can't tell you who said it, though.
That's interesting. It's almost like it didn't happen. Well, hopefully it happens on this one. Hope you guys all enjoy. Ready for some crazy stories?
Let's do it.
Let's break it down. And this first one is probably the most important story that I have, because it's one that is filled with a lot of speculation out there around the Twitch ban of DrDisRespect. It was actually news coming out this past week from Tim the Tatman, which correlates to other news out there, which has kind of just added, as if it was somehow possible. I believe now we're right around 10 months since his permanent ban from Twitch, and still nobody knows the reason why. If you can somehow add even a bigger question mark, it is now Tim the Tatman. Whilst on stream, he was asked, can you just play with Doc off stream and not stream it? To which Tim goes, I don't think I can.
Hey, Tim, have you ever considered to play with Doc without streaming it? It'd be banger. I don't think I can. Thank you for your 25.
Which also correlates, if you guys had missed it, I'm sure there'll be a video out sometime this week about Nick Merckx. At one point or another had come into the YouTube chat of Doc and was asked a similar question, why can't you, can you play with Doc, even off stream? To which he said, if we could, we would, which that giant question mark now added is, what the heck is going on if Twitch streamers can't even play with Doc off stream?
Right. It seems to me like they don't entirely know. Like it seems like there's not exact words to it saying like you can't play with someone who was banned from the platform off stream. But knowing people like To the Tatman and Nick Merckx, I bet they're big enough and they have a close enough relation with Twitch that they just don't want to like scuff it in any way. Like they don't want to mess up, and they know that wouldn't. Might not put them in their bad graces, but it's not going to put them in Twitch's good graces.
Yeah, I think a lot of details have to be pointed out. When you look at the content Doc had over 10 months ago before his ban, it was a lot with Nick Merckx. It was a lot with Tim the Tatman, maybe Ninja and Shroud in there. Ever since then, there was like one video. It didn't directly involve any of those guys. It's just been bare bones. It has only been Doc. We have seen him stream with other YouTubers. We've seen him stream with Facebook guys like ZLaner and many more, but never has he streamed with top-notch Twitch streamers or even made content with those Twitch streamers who very likely, like Tim the Tatman and Nick Merckx, have contracts. This is not just partnership with Twitch. These are contracts with Twitch. Right. So, probably a lot of assumptions are going to be made. The first thing that comes to my mind is maybe, and there's a lot of people that love to hate on Nick and Tim for not playing with Doc, even though I'm pretty sure Doc has said before, like, it's not like he wants that. Like, he doesn't want them to get in trouble. So for me, I think it's almost like whether it's Nick or Tim or their team around them saying, hey, for now, just in case, like, we just can't have you doing this. We don't know what's going to come out. And so it's better safe than sorry to not risk a Twitch contract or anything else of playing with Doc is kind of my assumption to be made.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think going off of your point, I think that Doc probably fully understands where they're coming from with this. Like, again, assumptions, but I would be willing to bet that they've had private conversations of like, hey man, we're cool, but like we just can't. And I feel like Doc probably understands that from a perspective of being friends and a business perspective of like, hey, these are guys at the top of their platform, pull some of the most numbers on the platform, are making a living off of this, a very good living. And like, why would they, like, they just can't risk that, just like they just don't know what's going to happen, so they can't really risk it.
Yeah, but then it's Tim being like, I don't think. And of course it's Tim, where it's like, okay, now people are going to look way too into those 6 words that he said, or whatever it was. But it is very, very interesting, and you just see it time and time. I get a lot of replies and comments out there like, Nick Merckx is backstabbing the Doc for not playing, or same for Tim. And I think it's very clearly that that's not how that relationship probably is. But yeah, I mean, I guess you could say to their point, it's not like Tim the Tatman and Nick Merckx have come out openly to discuss exactly why they can't.
I was going to say, I think Tim has even talked about how like he wishes he could, because him and Doc had some of the best chemistry.
He
watching
said
them play.
Tons of clips, he said it, yeah.
Amazing. So it's got to be something.
Yeah, especially when you have 2 of the top Twitch streamers, Nick Merckx, Tim the Tatman, now saying they pretty much can't play with Doc even off stream. It just adds to this mystery that does continue. We will see if more comes out. But what do you guys think is happening? And a man that is running rampant has been for quite some time. We've actually had, DMs and comments about this guy. It's about hacking and cheating, but this time around for Apex Legends, the dude who just, as of right now, seemingly cannot be stopped. It's Toofy, right?
Yeah,
We've gotten DMs for months about, needing to cover this guy. Finally, you did this past week. And evidently, it's still an ongoing issue in Apex Legends, much like many games out there like Warzone and Fortnite. But this guy is just a whole nother level.
Yeah, so he's been well known for a while at this point, like you said, but it really ramped up recently because he was interfering. And we say he because everyone just assumes it's him, and he's kind of like bragging about it and sending messages to people, but I guess we don't really know that it's him. But recently in GLL, in one of their tournaments, they couldn't play. Like, they couldn't play some of their qualifiers because he was crashing their servers constantly and, like, not letting players in the lobbies, which at that point, it's like, man, a lot of players are just complaining, like, does Tuvi own this game at this point? Like, Respawn doesn't seem to know what to do, even though they have said, like, they're looking into technical ways to fix the problem, which is just, better anti-cheat or, like, how to catch them technically, or legal routes, which, as we know, is normally, like, the scarier route for cheaters or hackers or anything like that. So who knows what's going to happen? But people are pretty pissed off.
Yeah, and we saw I think it was like Shiv, who just popped off. I mean, you could just see the ferocity in his voice and on his stream as well. If you guys missed Hunter's video, go check it out. But it is crazy to try and compare this to like a Fortnite hacker or a Warzone hacker. You can imagine if there was a Fortnite hacker or a Warzone cheater, whatever it might be, ruining actual events and qualifiers. I feel like it'd be a bit more in our news realm, especially for a game like Warzone, where it's more so just mass cheaters,
right.
Especially when it comes down to a lone case or what we think is just one person or might be a small group of people just ruining the experience for everyone out of fun of it. It makes you wonder if this guy is even scared of legal repercussions.
He must not be, and he must be, I guess, pretty good, because I can't think of very many references where we know the name of the hacker. It's like a renowned hacker in the game.
And he still exists.
And he's still around. Like, the company hasn't been able to take him down at this point. This is kind of a funny reference, but I think you'll get it at least. I'm not sure about everyone in the audience, but what it reminds me of, first and foremost, is RuneScape back in the day, the Valley Massacre. And that one with Duriel, and like the famous, like, everyone knew his name. He was able to kill like everyone in a safe zone, and everyone knew his name. And he did obviously get caught and get banned. But this reminds me of that because it's just like a renowned name for hacking. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it kind of sucks, but I feel like the more you talk about it, it just because it has the attention to where he's known.
Right.
So now any further talking about it is probably just fueling the fire, but how do you just stop talking about a guy who has become so prominent?
That's why I kind of felt bad about talking about it, because I was like, I don't want to give him more attention by saying his name, but at the same time, like, you want to call attention to it, so like maybe Respawn.
He's out there right now, like
he's like, I'm loving this. Keep saying my name. So I don't really know what's gonna happen, but like you said, people like Shiv, like the pretty much the reps of the scene at this point, are very upset about it and have been upset about it for a long time. So Respawn's got to be feeling the pressure.
Yeah, and I guess we'll end on the fact that it's not just Apex. I mean, Apex, Warzone, Fortnite have had cheating issues. It seems like the BR type game is the easiest game to try and get away with it, and it's unfortunately been very successful for all those hackers out there. So I guess one last time, in case he's out there, Toofy.
It's also, I bet, BRs are better for hackers because they can mess with like streamers and content creators easier.
Yeah.
Overall. Do you remember?
You can see the reactions and everything. You can just drop on them. Yeah.
Versus like in the old COD lobbies, it's like, why are you doing this?
Yeah. Or like in CS:GO, it's like, what are the odds you get into the same matchmaking?
Yeah.
Like,
did you remember the Valley Massacre?
Yes, I remember. I don't rember the name of the people who actually were the cause of it, but I remember the Valley Massacre.
1, 2, 3 or something like that. I can't remember the numbers. TBT. I don't know why that popped into my
Glory
head.
days. I guess I can bounce off that into one of my bigger. It's not mine, okay. But we see the clip of it. We got to react to these kind of things because it's just so funny to know that. It's one thing to cheat, right? And then it's another thing to get caught live cheating, and then I really, really enjoy. I wish we could do a compilation of. Ooh, this might be a future idea. Of we just watch clips on clips of cheaters who are caught live. They're either detected or they're banned live, because this actually happened from the Valorant space. It was a top North American ranked player, I believe in the top 100, almost top 50, known as Solista. I gotta say, these are accusations because there have been false detects, but based on the accusations, the clips, and I would even say his reaction, in case you guys missed it, he's been suspected for a long time of having a trigger bot, which is once you're over a body, the program just shoots for you. There's a lot of clips out there where he moves his mouse and you don't see any clicking, yet shooting is occurring. It was actually Solista who was detected live on stream, which, again, accusations, but if it does come true, like hopefully this cheat is actually, it's not a false one. But man, it was kind of interesting to see a reaction like that where he's just like, what?
And
No
then he
way.
went and got it from it or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. And you probably know better than I do as far as Valorant scene goes if there have been a lot of wrong detections.
There have
been. So who knows? But like you said, I don't just being caught live on stream and looking at his camera angle, you can see his hand in it. And to me, I'm like, if he is actually cheating, it's the audacity to
put a
your
hand cam
in the screen when you're using a trigger bot.
Ballsy, right?
Yeah, why would I don't know. It just seems very bold, but who knows? I don't know. I mean, the optimist in me wants to think that it was a false alarm, but who knows?
I'm gonna say based off initial reactions, everyone thinks it's legit.
Right.
But I will say there have been plenty of players and even some coaches and some figures out there. I know the FaZe coach, Sean Gares, other players were obviously tweeting about this. Some weren't surprised. Others certainly were. So if it does come off as a false, well, of course, we'll recover that, and I will gladly apologize. But I just want to say, from my own personal opinion, if I were actually cheating and I did get caught live, that is probably the fake reaction that I would have. Immediately trying to leave the screen and tell your roommate. And
maybe, but at the same time, I was just thinking about it in my head, and I was like, well, if I wasn't cheating and I on my screen popped up banned for cheating type deal, I don't think I would freak out either. I'd be like, what? Dude, look at this.
Yeah, and that's why we're not body language experts.
Right.
because we have no idea. So, yeah, to end on, I've been DM'd by a lot of people out there, even some collegiate players we found out that were false detected. So it does happen. But again, we'll gladly apologize and take that back. But as of right now, accusations seem pretty condemning. We will see someone caught live with a trigger bot on Valorant. The cheat detection, very effective. Now, this was actually a video of yours this past week that I thoroughly enjoyed and thoroughly expected to do a lot better with all the figures out there who have taken on the Twitch hot tub meta. I think it instantly kind of draws out the angry people, but I think it's a very interesting thing to really look at when you look at the Twitch analytics and the rise of the just chatting section. Already been a giant section, but even further so through countless, mostly female streamers, but there have been others now joining the Twitch hot tub meta.
Like you said, it's very dividing. There's a lot of people on both sides of this that some are super upset and some are, very neutral and some are just super, support it. And, we've got the tier 3 subs who love the hot tub meta,
yeah,
who are all about it. And also the people who are just hey, let the people do what they want. And we have the guys we have now seen, American Dad and Jake and Big. Those are my two favorite ones that I saw because they were so extreme, who have taken to doing their own hot tub streams. Yeah,
and we also pull in, I think I've actually tweeted about, we've had some pro players actually donating to some of the hot tub streamers that write names because, they do pull big viewers, 5 to 10 to maybe sometimes more thousand of viewers. And so we've seen pros with names on these hot tub streamers' arms and stuff. We've also, in your video, mentioned Carlos, one of the most outspoken, outgoing owners in esports. Even the LEC, one of the most viewed leagues in esports, taking a spin on the hot tub. That is how big this is.
Right. For people that didn't see it, it was Carlos, the founder, CEO of G2, in a hot tub for 15 minutes on the live broadcast of LEC. Just he didn't say a single word for 15 minutes straight, just did all these different things.
Oh, I want to do that so bad.
It was hilarious, but everyone in the chat was like, what's going on right now?
Yeah.
Like, what?
But a lot of them understood what was going on. He didn't have to say a word
Right.
for 15 minutes, and people understood what was going on here. But it's been crazy to see view-wise. Again, just chatting has always been a very, very dominant section. But I think it's even more interesting, probably not enough time to talk about it now, how Twitch has been dealing with some of these slip-ups. Now, these hot tub streamers have been getting a lot of bans, but frequently so far we have seen one-day bans issued time and time again, which is totally against what we have been taught and told about the previous ban history on Twitch usually impacts your future bans.
There's a lot of 1 and 3 day bans. The clip I used in the video was Asman talking about it. Specifically, he was talking about, I think, Indy Fox, who got a 3-day ban for the suit that she was wearing in her hot tub stream, which she had been banned before, and she was upset that she got another 3-day ban for it. And to Asman's point, he was like, hey, if Forsen did this, like, they would have figured out a way to get him arrested in real life. Like, you know, like they would have treated him very differently.
And this is not necessarily us hating on these streamers. This is us just questioning the platform, which we have time and time again about these bans. So Asman makes some great points. And, you know, Indy, keep doing your thing. But in typical Twitch fashion, if you have a 1-day ban, then a 3-day ban, usually it escalates. It keeps on escalating because Twitch is backhanding you saying, hey, you're doing something wrong. Please learn from your mistakes, correct it. Otherwise, we're going to keep on punishing you more and more harshly. Now, we've seen hot tub streamers. I've seen one get 1 day, which is unheard of for a lot of streamers on Twitch. So this brand new Twitch hot tub meta, whatever the frick you want to call it, clearly Twitch is not, I don't know how you handle it, but clearly they don't know either.
I was going to say, it seems like they need to figure out what they want to do, and somehow, I mean, making a statement is dangerous for a company like Twitch, I think, because then they have to hold to it and they have words they have to hold to. But I think the biggest issue people have, like we said, we don't have an issue with people doing hot tub streams. Like, we're not here to, like, hate on anyone doing that. But I think the issue is in the double standard of, like, we don't know how these bans are being treated or why people are getting, you know, not as strict bans. Or some people have been banned for not showing anything, you know, and for long periods of time.
Can I just really quickly, I've covered a lot of Forsen bans, and especially, don't want to get necessarily the numbers wrong, but I believe it was, and it was the one involving a naked woman with maybe some horse reproductive parts were also involved. It was shown for a blip of a second, but it was shown by Forsen. And I believe this instance resulted in a 30-day ban, and Twitch was almost like about to ban him off the platform.
Accident, right?
Yes, of course. And Twitch was almost about to ban him off the platform entirely. Meanwhile, you have suits that sometimes might be a bit too see-through, a bit too transparent, and Twitch is like 1 day, 3-day.
Or it's people who we've seen show a little bit more of where the sun don't shine.
Slip up a little bit, get 3 days.
You get 3 days.
You can show your rear side, back side, moon side, and you get 3 days. But I'm sure people at least, again, it's not necessarily the streamer's fault. It is Twitch who issues the punishments. But we have seen some very unfair treatments, and it really makes you wonder who is involved in the ban processes,
Right.
why they're all so subjective. Despite all of that, what do you guys think about the hot tub meta? It is very clearly very crazy, and a lot of people are taking advantage of that craziness. And there was a lot of talk out there in the Rainbow Six scene as a lot of pro players, particularly FPL players, there was a tweet posted, if you guys did not see this, where pretty much in the context it was initially painted, you had these R6 pros, correct me if I'm wrong, that were asked if they wanted to allow female players in the league. This tweet took off instantly because a lot of the players said, I'm against it, followed up by several other players saying, me too, me too, me too, until a little more digging was involved into this whole FPL Rainbow Six situation.
Yeah, so it seems so dangerous. Like, this is where the danger of screenshots come into play and not having context to stuff, because like you said, people jumped on this so quick and were so upset with the players and saying, how dare you not, like, want women in your league at all, and, like, how dare they, you know, say that you don't want them in it and that you're denying them all access. And that is what it looked like from the screenshot of those players being asked straight up, hey, do you want to add the women to the league? And then being like, no, like, we don't want to, like you said. But for some context, I'm going to read something from Intero just because he is a resident expert on this kind of stuff. Basically, he says the context behind the Latin America and Brazil FPL drama. The Brazilian pros are asked if they want every woman from Brazil's circuit invited to FPL. Some players say no. 12 women get invited to FPL, And Ubisoft, Face It, apparently made the final decision for FPL, not the players. And essentially, what happens is there's a way for players to get into the circuit to begin with. There's like a set way, but they can also just add players. Like if everyone agrees, then it's like, okay, just add them in and it's fine. And so what the screenshot was in reality was them asking if they wanted the female players to just immediately be added to their own FPL league.
Yep.
And they were all saying no, like we'd rather them go through the normal process. But then at the end of the day, it didn't even matter what they said because, face it, Ubisoft just added them anyways.
Yeah, and this is a very hairy issue to talk about. FPL and Face It, very well known across several esports. I would say CSGO and R6 are certainly up there. And to your point, yeah, there's a whole process of making it into the top of FPL, and there's a lot of ranks to actually rise through, which naturally a lot of players have to. If you showcase your abilities well enough for a long enough period of time, yes, you can be invited. And so as much as it hurts to say, you can understand where some pro players who had to earn their way in to where they are maybe like, no, I'd rather them. But that obviously was not shown in the original.
Right. It's more so, and I think, and Sarah might have said this too, or someone did that I saw, a lot of people were knee-jerk reaction saying, oh, this is sexism, this is like they're being awful. But instead of sexism, it was more like gatekeeping and elitism, not sexism. Like it wasn't because, they didn't want the women to be invited to the scene. It was because they wanted new players to go through that same process instead of just immediately being added.
Yeah, and it's sucky that we all kind of jumped on that, but I can certainly see the same happening if this was for CSGO as well, right? Like everyone's got to earn their keep, and hopefully those are the only details that are going to come out about this. It seems like it's been pretty thoroughly handled and explained after the fact. But we definitely saw a lot of big names respond right away that maybe have taken back those responses, myself included. I definitely had a response, and then all of a sudden we saw Intero and others tweet about it. I was like, oh, frick. So I'm definitely guilty of that.
I think that's okay. I mean, obviously a lot of people, like you said, had that knee-jerk reaction because it looked awful. Like it did look bad. And even with the context, some people are still upset about it because they don't like that they were gatekeeping and keeping women out of the league instead of just, being okay with them being added. So people are still upset, but not exactly for the same reasons that they were at first.
Yeah, we will see if any other details come out about the R6 pros and the female instance happening over the past few days. And one of the bigger, one of the more dramatic stories this past week, which might be a pretty serious issue, obviously, given the removal of the best pro player on the Cloud9 White female roster, which is by far and away the most dominant and best roster in female Valorant. If you guys did not see their VCT Game Changers run, did not drop a single map throughout qualifiers and the actual event itself. I'm not even sure. I don't think they've lost ever since Keiti did join. After a short trial period and around 1 month with the lineup, it is now by far, at least in my opinion, their best player known as Keiti. Also taking a step away. This came out of nowhere this past week, having a lot of people confused. And I would almost say it's kind of unfortunate it happens to Cloud9 because this just kind of happens time and time again where they've had some removals out of nowhere. And we have people out there just kind of questioning, is this Cloud9 being stupid? No, I think this is actually a much more serious issue behind the scenes.
Yeah, we looked into the dates of the players a little bit. I remember when it first happened because we were just curious, like, when did all the players end up joining the team? Like, who's been around? And it seems like she, like you said, was the newest player by far, has only been there for about a month, and everyone else was part of that old
Magical,
team.
yeah.
Magical, and had been a team before together. And so we don't know the reason behind this, which is mind-blowing still. We talked about that also of like, how are they just going to add someone to the team a month later, drop them, and then they just move on? They don't address it at all. They don't say anything.
And I don't know why I almost feel guilty for asking. I feel like it's a fair question when you are the best female roster and you drop your best player. As of right now, Keiti has now posted finally a few days after, saying she'll be taking a step back due to personal reasons. So still really not answering the questions as to why, and it almost just makes people all the more curious. Did something occur where Cloud9 had to drop her, or was this actually a personal choice? Is she going through, you don't want to dive too deep, is she going through actual some kind of struggle in her personal life? And I think people are also interested because when she does return, we'll find out, we will find out what happened. She's going to be the top prospect in the female Valorant scene. I mean, you can have rosters out there change drastically just with her addition. So, I mean, maybe we're getting too excited ahead of the fact, but if you're another female Valorant team like CLG Red or Moon Raccoons, who gave them like their best series yet, the most competitive series, Cloud9 White Faced, who's to say like, all right, are we gonna see the highest paid female Valorant pro right away?
And I hate to play the comparison game, but I think it's somewhat necessary just to give perspective on this a little bit. But imagine Tins gets picked up by Sentinels. A month later, they say, hey, he's dropped.
Thank you for doing this.
And then Tins posts, hey, I'm going to step back for personal reasons. Everyone would be like, what? Like, why? Like, you have to tell us why. There needs to be a reason if the best player in the scene suddenly that you picked up is now gone and for personal reasons, and no one says, which, who knows, like, a bit of the doubt here, like, maybe there are some private personal reasons going on that, like, no one knows about. But on the other side, like, just a little bit of context would help, I think.
Yeah, that's a great comparison, because if Tens or his girl Kai or Sentinels or Cloud9 all said nothing, yeah, there would be equal questions about, okay, first, is everything okay?
Right.
But I think it's unfortunate where we are in esports, where typically when these kind of things happen, people like to assume there must be something bad out there,
right,
which is not always the case, but unfortunately, that is usually the case. So we'll see what happens there. To give one last comparison, TSM nearly tried to do the same thing with Lunar Cats and their female roster, and then we find out days later the actual reason. So, and that's where my maybe unfair assumption comes from, because TSM tried to do the same thing where they didn't want to talk about it. Neither did Lunar Cats, and then finally the public was like, "You can't just drop someone after 48 hours and not tell us why." And Lunar decided to come out and explain. It was a very, very way back example, but she did. I'm glad she explained, so people are not near as confused. And I think there was a pretty big rift as to why she was dropped in the first place. So, despite all of that, we are wishing Keiti the best of luck in her time away. But certainly people are curious as to why. Definitely. And when she does come back, there is no doubt, depending on what happens, but if it is all clear, there's no doubt she will be a high prospect for every female team out there. So, what do you guys think? Crazy stuff. As per usual, we hope you guys all enjoy the Esports Rewind podcast. You can follow us on all socials. You can leave a goddamn comment down below. You can drink your water, and you can drink your gosh dang coffee. Hunter, we should get out of here, man.
Yeah, let's try this one more time. We tried this last time, but hey, guys, close your eyes real quick.
Close your eyes. Close your peepers.
We're waiting.
Keep them closed. Keep them closed, you mother. Keep them closed. Gotcha! Bye. Open up!